Robert Allen, the only one of X's 4 killers to walk free, was released from prison on October 26, 2023 after serving roughly 5 years. And soon after, there are claims he was kidnapped. And it might be payback time for what he and his goons did to X. And in this video, I will be breaking down everything that happened, the murder, the men, and the deal that set one of them free. On June 18, 2018, X, whose legal name was Joss Dwayne Ricardo and Froy, was shot and killed outside Riva Motorsports, a motorcycle dealership in Deerfield Beach, Florida. He was 20 years old. Earlier that same day, he had walked into a Bank of America and withdrawn approximately $50,000 in cash. He arrived at Riva Motorsports around 3:30 in the afternoon with his step-uncle, Leonard Kerr, to look at motorcycles. He had $50,000 in a Louis Vuitton bag. He had no reason to think he was being followed. He was not armed. 4 men were in a rented black Dodge Journey SUV parked in that same lot. Dedrick Williams, known by the nickname Chucky, was the ringleader and the getaway driver. Michael Boatwright was the shooter. Trayvon Noom was the second gunman, and Robert Allen, known as Big Rob, was the 4th man in the car. All 4 had ties to ZMF, a South Florida street gang connected to Zoe Pound, a Haitian-American criminal organization that had operated across Miami-Dade, Broward, and Palm Beach counties for decades, involved in drug trafficking, robbery, and violence. The robbery was not specifically planned around X. The group had rented the SUV the day before with the stated intent to rob people to drive around South Florida armed and find a target. That was the plan going into that Tuesday. They were not looking for X. They found him by coincidence. Williams spotted the BMW i8 in the Riva Motorsports parking lot and recognized it. He had encountered that car before at a probation office months earlier where X had also been present. Williams pulled up X's Instagram account on his phone right there in the car and referenced the vehicle in the lot with the car in X's posts. The car matched. Williams confirmed it was him. Then Williams and Allen went inside the store. They walked past X while he was browsing. They stayed near him watching. They purchased 2 black neoprene masks at the store counter while X was still inside feet away from them. Surveillance cameras inside the store recorded both of them on video doing this. They went back to the car. At that point, Allen told the rest of the group it was not a good idea. He had been on camera inside the store. Williams and Allen both had. He said the surveillance footage was going to identify them. He said they were going to get caught. Boatwright and Newsom, according to Allen's later testimony, initially expressed hesitation, too. Then Williams asked if they were scared. Boatwright said they were going to get X. Newsom agreed. Allen refused to step out of the SUV because he knew he had already been captured on the store's cameras, and so Boatwright and Newsom were designated as the 2 gunmen who would approach the vehicle on foot. Williams would stay in the driver's seat of the Journey. Allen would stay in the car and watch. They sat in that SUV for 8 minutes and 35 seconds. Every second of that wait was captured by Riva Motorsports' surveillance system. The footage showed the Journey positioned in the lot completely still while Boatwright and Newsom prepared inside the vehicle, pulling on masks, checking weapons, getting ready. When X and Kerr walked out of the store and got into the BMW i8, Williams accelerated the Journey forward and cut off the BMW's exit route from the parking lot. Boatwright and Newsom came out of the car fast. Boatwright was carrying a short-barreled .22 caliber rifle. Newsom was armed with a .22 LR semi-automatic pistol. Both men wore masks. Boatwright moved to the driver's side of the BMW and pointed the rifle directly through the window at X. Newsom moved to the same side and attempted to rip X's gold chain off his neck. He could not get it off. Leonard Kerr, sitting in the passenger seat, opened his door and ran. Newsom then went around to the passenger side, reached inside the car, and pulled the Louis Vuitton bag from the back seat. The bag holding the $50,000. The robbery was complete at that point. The money was out of the car and in Newsom's hands. X was still alive, seated in the driver's seat, unarmed. Boatwright stepped back, aimed the rifle at the driver's window, and fired. He shot X 3 times. 2 of the bullets entered his neck at a downward angle, clipping the upper lobe of his left lung and grazing his aorta. Androy was rushed to Broward Health North Hospital and pronounced dead at 4:51 p.m. Paramedics briefly restored a pulse before he was declared gone. Toxicology was clean. No drugs, no alcohol.
He grabbed the bag, shots are fired.
Who shoots the shots that are fired?
Michael Boatwright.
The 4 men drove away. They crashed the Dodge Journey during the getaway and had to continue on foot and by other means. They eventually regrouped at Allen's house. They counted out the money on the table and divided it. Williams, Boatwright, and Newsom each took $15,000. Allen received $5,000. The justification, according to Newsom's logic at the time, being that he had not physically participated in the robbery or the shooting. Allen took the money without argument. Hours after X was pronounced dead, cell phone videos recorded the men smiling, dancing, and fanning stacks of $100 bills in front of the camera. All 4 were arrested within weeks. Williams was pulled over during a traffic stop just 48 hours after the murder. He was wearing the same orange sandals and white tank top he had on in the Riva Motorsports surveillance footage. Store employees confirmed he was the man who purchased the masks. Boatwright was picked up on July 5 on an unrelated cocaine charge, and detectives served him the murder warrant while he was already sitting in Broward County Jail. Allen was located and arrested in Georgia on July 26. Newsom, the last of the four, turned himself in at his attorney's office on August 7, 2018. All four were indicted by a grand jury on first-degree premeditated murder and armed robbery with a firearm. Robert Allen was the only one of the four who chose to cooperate. On August 12, 2022, he pleaded guilty to second-degree murder and armed robbery. The first-degree premeditated murder charge, which carries mandatory life without parole under Florida law, was dropped in exchange for his full cooperation and testimony against his three co-defendants. He took the stand beginning February 8, 2023. He testified over 4 days. He described the plan to rent the vehicle and rob people. He described Williams spotting X and using Instagram to confirm the car. He described entering the store, walking past X, buying the masks. He described the conversation in the parking lot after they came back out, the hesitation, Williams calling them scared. Boatwright agreeing to move forward. He described the 8-minute wait. He described the blocking maneuver, the approach, the gunshots, and the drive away. He described Boatwright turning the music up in the car after they found out on their phones that X had died. He described the money being counted and divided at his house.
And who does he shoot? Where does he shoot him from? What side of the car?
Defense attorneys attacked Allen on every front, called him a career criminal with a dozen prior convictions, accused him of changing his story to fit what prosecutors needed, and argued his entire account was constructed for the sole purpose of reducing his sentence. Allen acknowledged he wanted a lighter sentence. He said he also had genuine remorse, that months in pre-trial detention gave him time to think, and that sitting in that courtroom watching X's family cry was something he could not shake. The jury deliberated for over 27 hours across 8 days. They came back unanimous on March 20, 2023. All three defendants guilty on all counts. On April 6, 2023, Boatwright received 2 consecutive life sentences plus 30 additional years. Williams and Newsom each received mandatory life without the possibility of parole. Allen's sentencing followed on May 17, 2023. Judge Michael Ean sentenced him to 7 years with credit for 4 years, 9 months, and 21 days, already served in pre-trial detention. The judge cited Allen's genuine remorse, his cooperation, and his assistance in solving an unrelated ZMF gang cold case murder as the basis for the reduction. He walked out of prison on October 26, 2023. He has been on 20 years of supervised probation ever since. Conditions that run through approximately 2043. The life he left behind and what he came back to. 3 men are in Florida state prisons right now, serving life without the possibility of parole. The 4th is driving trucks across state lines under court supervision. His home address sealed from the public by court order. That contrast, concrete, documented, lived out in real time, is the engine behind every viral post, every thumbnail with Allen's mugshot, every comment section that reignites years after the trial ended. What pushed the story back into heavy circulation in early 2026 was not a new crime. Court documents obtained by outlets including XXL and The Source in late March 2026 detailed the full scope of Allen's probation conditions, and those documents spread rapidly across Facebook, Instagram threads, and X. The framing attached to many of those posts was inaccurate. Headlines like "X's killer just got out after 5 years" implied a release that had just happened. It had not. Allen had been out since October 2023, but the court documents made the reality of his freedom feel immediate in a way that old news coverage had not, and the reaction that followed reflected that immediacy. The documents themselves describe a person whose daily life is governed by the state of Florida. Allen is required to make weekly phone check-ins with his probation officer and appear in person every 6 weeks. He is prohibited from any contact with X's family. His home address was sealed by court order in September 2025, specifically because of concerns about his safety from the public. The court also granted him permission to travel across the United States for work. He has been working as a CDL truck driver. As of late March 2026, there are no reported violations, no new arrests, and no confirmed incidents involving Allen since his release, including no confirmed kidnapping. The kidnapping headline circulating online is unverified. Research tracking recent coverage of the case has identified clickbait YouTube videos falsely claiming one of the killers was instantly killed after release, and those have already been debunked. The pattern with this story is consistent. A sensational framing attaches itself to facts that are already striking enough without embellishment. The real story, a man who sat in the car while a 20-year-old was shot dead, collected $5,000 of the stolen money, and now lives freely under probation, does not need to be inflated. But the anger behind those clickbait titles is real, and it has a shape that goes beyond simply being upset that Allen is free. It is specifically about what Allen was free to do during the crime itself. He was in that store. He walked past X. He stood at the counter and bought a mask. He went back to the car and sat through an 8-1/2 minute wait while 2 men loaded up and got ready. He knew what was about to happen. He chose by his own account not to get out of the car, not because he objected to what was about to happen, but because he calculated that his face was already on the security footage and he did not want to be more exposed than he already was.
What are they saying?
Chuck is telling them to get him, basically.
We said to get him to rob him?
Yeah, get him, rob him.
That interrogation footage predates any formal deal. Allen was speaking to detectives before his attorney had negotiated anything. He already knew the cameras had him, and his first move was to start narrating what happened from an angle that positioned him as the reluctant one. The man who raised an objection, who stayed behind, who got less money. The story he told in 2018 is the same story he told on the stand in 2023. And the consistency of that story across 5 years and under aggressive cross-examination is a significant part of why the jury credited his testimony. The anger about Allen's freedom runs directly into the logic of how criminal prosecutions work. Without his testimony, the case against Boatwright, Williams, and Newsom, while strong on forensic and surveillance evidence, would have had a gap at its center. No one from inside the vehicle would have described what was said, who agreed to what, who was selected to get out, and what happened in the car afterward. Allen filled that gap. He was the only person with direct knowledge of the internal mechanics of what happened, who was willing to speak under oath. That cooperation meant something to the judge. It also meant something to X's family, who were consulted on the plea deal and did not oppose it. None of that changes the math of what Allen did. He collected $5,000 of money taken from a dead man. He knew what was going to happen before it happened. He rode away in the car afterward. He went to the house, watched the cash get counted, and took his cut. He told the judge at his sentencing in May 2023, "If I have to die in prison, then so be it. I know the risk I was taking. Let justice be served. Please forgive me." The judge accepted those words as sincere. Allen walked out of Florida's correctional system 17 months later. Now, consider what the men he testified against have been doing with the time they have left. In November 2024, Drake Williams' attorney filed an appeal brief attempting to implicate Drake as an alternate suspect in X's murder. The theory was not new. Defense attorneys had tried to introduce it during the original trial, citing X's publicized online feud with Drake. Judge Ezen had shut it down. Drake had been subpoenaed, appeared, and was excused when no evidence of involvement materialized. Williams' attorney tried to resurrect the angle anyway through a post-conviction brief, citing a Drake Instagram post and the old feud as grounds for reasonable doubt. As of April 2026, the convictions stand, and there is no indication the appeal has changed anything. Trayvon Noom is serving life at Florida State Prison. Text messages recovered from his phone and reviewed by jurors during deliberations included what prosecutors described as a confession to burying a portion of the stolen money. Messages discussing digging out cash, referencing $8,000 buried at a location, and expressing fear of catching a life sentence. He caught one. During the trial, a Broward sheriff's deputy testified that Newsom screamed at Allen in the courthouse holding cells while they were being transported, calling him a snitch, working with the police, working with the white man, a sellout. That moment became one of the most widely covered exchanges from the entire trial. And then there is Michael Boatwright. 2 consecutive life sentences plus 30 years. The man, the physical evidence, the surveillance footage, DNA, the ballistics, the fingerprints, and the eyewitness testimony, all placed as the person who raised that rifle and fired when the robbery was already over. He has been in a Florida state prison since his arrest. He has also repeatedly found ways to keep talking. The shooter who will not stop talking. When the jury read its verdict on March 20th, 2023, Michael Boatwright was standing in the courtroom in handcuffs. As the words guilty were read on each count, he turned toward X's family in the gallery and blew a kiss. The moment was captured on courtroom camera. It was clipped and posted within the hour. It reached every platform, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube before the day was over. X's mother responded publicly. The image became the defining visual of who Boatwright chose to be. Even at the moment of his conviction, he was sentenced on April 6, 2023. 2 consecutive life sentences without parole plus a consecutive 30 years on additional charges. Judge Usen spoke directly to Boatwright at the hearing. The judge told him, "You turned a robbery into a murder. On that day, when you stood there and fired that weapon, you didn't just end one life. You effectively ended 5 lives, including your own. You will spend the rest of your life in prison in a cell that has a stainless steel slab attached to the wall. That's your bed. And next to it is a stainless steel sink and a stainless steel toilet. And one day they'll come and open up that cell in the morning and you'll have passed on, and only on that day will you have served your sentence." By April 2024, Boatwright was using a contraband cell phone inside Martin Correctional Institution, a facility in Florida where strict no-phone rules exist, but smuggled phones are a documented problem to access Instagram. He posted laughing, crying emojis directly over a video of X's young son, Gekum, who was in the video paying tribute to his father, pointing at photographs of X. He also reportedly maintained a highlight reel on his Instagram page that showed him counting cash from the robbery proceeds. No. Father Dwayne went public with a plea for fans to contact the Florida Department of Corrections and demand that Boatwright's contraband phone access be shut down. Florida DOC was notified. Boatwright kept posting anyway. In October 2024, Boatwright posted again from prison under the account AOYT Boatwright, first amplified widely by academics on October 5, 2024, and covered within days by Hot 97, Hip Hop DX, Baller Alert, and Media Takeout. The post read, "Y'all just judge me off this one thing y'all know about me, but y'all don't even know the truth behind all this. I'm not this evil person that everybody think I am, and nobody even know me as a person. Y'all believe in everything you see on social media. I'm not sorry for nothing I did. It's still free me." That post is now cited in Wikipedia's official entries on both the murder and the trial. It is the most verified, most documented example of any of the four men speaking publicly about the case after sentencing. It offers no new facts, no claim of innocence, no specific account of anything that was disputed at trial. It is a statement of position. I am not sorry. The hashtag demanding his freedom has been attached to a man who received 2 consecutive life sentences plus 30 years. His direct appeal filed as Michael Boatwright v. State of Florida, case number 4D230975, was denied in 2025 by the Florida District Court of Appeal, which upheld the convictions and sentences in full and rejected arguments about the severance of co-defendants and the sufficiency of the evidence against him. What makes Boatwright's behavior after the verdict lands so hard is that it is entirely continuous with the behavior before and during the crime. The pattern began before anyone was arrested. The group took photos and videos with the stolen money within hours of the shooting. One video was timestamped at approximately 5:29 p.m. on the day of the murder, roughly 90 minutes after X was pronounced dead. Another was recorded at 12:35 a.m. the following morning. In both videos, the men are smiling, dancing, and fanning stacks of $100 bills. Those videos were seized from their phones and played for the jury in closing arguments. Lead prosecutor Pascal Akil called the defendants predators and let the footage speak for itself. Boatwright's phone also showed him searching X, an accessory to murder, in the hours after the crime. About an hour after the shooting, following a nearly 2-hour gap in his texting pattern, he sent a message to someone reading, "Tell my brother I got the money for the new phone." Minutes after that, he forwarded a screenshot of a news article reporting that X had been shot. Prosecutors highlighted those 2 messages as evidence of both his knowledge that a crime had occurred and his awareness that he suddenly had access to significant cash. His phone was also connected via Bluetooth to the rented Dodge Journey at the time and place of the crime, and location data placed him at Riva Motorsports during the exact window of the attack. The physical evidence built a wall around him. DNA recovered from the black neoprene masks purchased inside Riva Motorsports and used during the crime matched Boatwright at a statistical probability rarer than 1 in 929 nonillion. Williams' DNA match on the same masks came back rarer than 1 in 831 octillion. Those numbers come from testimony given under oath on February 28, 2023 by Broward County Crime Lab forensic analyst Nicole Inat. The defense in closing arguments pointed out that no defendant DNA was found on X's body, his clothing, or the stolen gold chain, despite the physical struggle that took place. Prosecutors responded directly. The masks and gloves the men wore during the robbery account for the absence of transfer on the victim. The masks themselves, the ones Williams bought at the counter while X stood nearby, placed Boatwright and Williams at the crime, at a statistical level that has no real-world equivalent. A box of .22 caliber bullets recovered from Boatwright's home was missing exactly 4 rounds, consistent with the number of shots fired at the scene. His fingerprints were found on the exterior driver's door of X's BMW i8. Nearly 1,200 text messages from Williams and Boatwright's phones were reviewed directly by jurors during the deliberations requested specifically by the jury, projected in the courtroom, examined over multiple sessions. They looked at all of it. They deliberated for more than 27 hours. They came back unanimous on every count. During closing arguments, lead prosecutor Pascal Akil sat in complete silence in front of the jury for over 8 minutes, mirroring the exact length of time the men had waited in the parking lot before moving on. 8 minutes of a courtroom doing nothing except existing in the shadow of what that wait meant. Then Akili played the post-crime videos of the defendants dancing with the stolen money. Then she rested. At sentencing, Judge Uzun made one observation that did not make as many headlines as his remarks to Boatwright, but that captures the full weight of what was being sentenced that day. He said the crime had ended 5 lives, meaning X's life, and also the lives of the 4 men in that car. 3 of those men will never leave a Florida correctional facility alive. The 4th lives under supervision and the permanent mark of what he participated in. As of April 2026, Robert Allen is alive on probation until approximately 2043, working as a truck driver with a court-sealed home address and no confirmed violations or incidents. Michael Boatwright is at Martin Correctional Institution serving life plus 30 years with his appeal denied and no path to release. Trayvon Num is at Florida State Prison serving life without parole. Dedrick Williams is at Wakulla Correctional Institution Annex serving life without parole with a failed Drake-based appeal and no further legal options currently reported. X's son Geeky was born on January 26, 2019, 7 months after his father was killed in that parking lot. He is 6 years old. The man who robbed and shot his father will spend the rest of their lives in prison. The one who sat in the car and watched is out here driving a truck across the country, checking in with his probation officer every 6 weeks and hoping the internet eventually moves on. It has not moved on yet. That brings us to the end of this video. For more interesting videos like this, click on the cards on your screen.